Welcome back, hyenas, to another episode of This Week in Memes. Today, we're going to start by talking about JD Vance, the Vice President of the United States, somebody whose first and second initials have been a mystery to everybody on the internet for the longest. What does JD stand for? Is it Jorkin to Peanuts Vance? I cannot believe that's what we've come to, but sure, let's pretend it's that. The internet, over the course of the last year, has finally moved on from trying to figure out what JD Vance's real name is, and has instead moved on to something equally hilarious, which is making numerous edits of JD Vance's face in an effort to try to give him body dysmorphia. According to KnowYourMeme.com, the edits of JD Vance's face started as early as October of 2024, with one Republican congressman who represents the state of Georgia sending out a good morning tweet with an image of JD Vance, except this isn't the original presidential portrait that you would see on the government website. Rather, this was a yassified version of JD Vance with a chiseled jawline, stronger cheekbones, and overall more Chad-like facial construction. Obviously, this image has been doctored, but the fact that this congressman shared this image with no other context, he didn't seem to be memeing. I don't know if he thought that this is actually what JD Vance looks like, but the fact that this thing was sent out with such sincerity, evidently, from the best that we could tell, started a cycle of people making more and more edits, seemingly wondering if anybody even knows what JD Vance actually looks like anymore. The portrait image that you are probably most familiar with if you've been paying attention to the edits of JD Vance is the one that you see behind me here, which is one of the first examples, but not the first example, of a photoshopped version of JD Vance's face. This one instead sort of babyfies him, giving him more childlike features with a rounder overall face, fuller cheeks. He almost looks like a toddler in a suit, which I think is the reason that a lot of people sort of ran with this edit. This one still sees different variations made to this day, still using this original morph of JD Vance's face in order to match the personality that the internet now assumes of him. They associate JD Vance with being childish and emotional, and the fact that this one gives him a more childlike face makes it sort of the mascot image when thinking of JD Vance. These edits of JD Vance's presidential portrait would continue to get more and more aggressive to the point where, I mean, you could still tell it's JD Vance because he's in the suit and we're all familiar with this image with the flags behind him, but they definitely got more and more ludicrous to the point where it started to become difficult the face that we were even looking at anymore. Like, if you didn't know what JD Vance looked like and you just searched up his name on Twitter, you would get so many different variations that I still don't think you would get a concise answer as to what the vice president actually looks like anymore. It's at this point I would like to point to an age-old thought experiment known as the ship of Theseus. The idea being that if you had a large ship and you slowly replaced each one of the pieces as they deteriorated or rotted, once you had replaced every piece of that ship slowly over time, would the ship that you have now still be the original ship of Theseus? Seems unrelated, but take a look at this meme. This is a JD Vance edit, but is it? Is any aspect of this reminiscent of the original photo of JD Vance? At what point is this just a completely unrelated meme titled JD Vance as Patrick from SpongeBob? Like, does this count? While these edits of JD Vance were mostly funny and mostly timed out over the course of a couple of months, a recent interview that JD Vance and President Donald Trump had with the president of Ukraine led to a lot more discussion about JD Vance and the way that he conducted himself during this conversation, which was overall heated and led to a lot of political turmoil, a lot of news headlines, and has led to even more people making even more memes about JD Vance. Now, simply making an edit of JD Vance is one thing, but we've been looking at memes for like 7 years on this channel, and pardon my sophistication, but my taste is a little bit more elite than most. The ones that I appreciate are the ones that have a little bit more storytelling, a little bit more effort put in other than color shifting and face morphing. For instance, here's JD Vance as the Hat Man, the nightmare villain you might see in your dreams after taking one too many Benadryl. One too many is more than 0, by the way. And I think this is great because the idea of a JD Vance edit being something nightmarish that might haunt your dreams is incredibly reminiscent of the reality that is looking at too many of these JD Vance edits might haunt your dreams. JD Vance as a dark elf from the Elder Scrolls Oblivion. This is great on two levels. One, the fact that you gave him the ears and color shifted his skin tone to look like a dark elf or a night elf. I don't know what they're called in that game. A is great, right? Above average effort put into this edit. I can always appreciate that. But then the text box stating a parody of what JD Vance said during his interview with President Zelensky, and specifically saying that you need to, Lord and Savior Dagoth in that game already puts him in a position of like lesser power. Like he's speaking as if he's the second in charge answering to a higher power, which he already kind of is, both into God as a Republican vice president, but also to Donald Trump as the vice president. You see what I mean? Multiple levels, better meme. I like the edits of JD Vance where he's just a little guy. You know what I mean? He's just a chill little chubby guy, because I feel like that fits what I perceive as his personality the best. Little German boy, JD Vance. The JD stands for Jaeger Deister or something. This is great. You can really picture JD Vance going do the roar while holding the lollipop. This is great. Minions, JD Vance. JD Vance really seems like the type of dude just going around going doobity doobity banana. You know what I mean? Like this, good at it. Very good at it. Big head, small face. Very classic. Takes very tight execution to do this correctly. It's kind of funny, right? You can imagine that if he spoke while looking like this, he would have a very high-pitched voice. But also, the fact that you managed to match the facial hair, like the facial features are smaller, including the mouth, but the goatee seems to extend flawlessly to the bigger part of the beard. I don't know what kind of magic trickery you did here, but it's very well done. Everybody's making edits of JD Vance's face. What if I were to make an edit that takes away the face from an already edited picture of JD Vance's face? You see the levels here? I have no Vance, but I must scream. Somehow, despite the fact that these edits only really started to garner more steam in the last 48 hours or so, we have already very quickly reached the point of post-irony, self-satiring memes of the JD Vance edits. People are already getting a bitter taste from the amount of memes that they've seen. It's starting to alter their psyche. Their ability to browse the internet is starting to be poisoned by all of these JD Vance edits. People are taking a look at characters and images that they're seeing online that have nothing to do, ironically, nothing to do with JD Vance, and yet still, you can't help but wonder if it does. Are we this isn't a JD Vance meme? Cause I'm not sure anymore. Do I like the callback to the Garbage Pail Kids characters that they made stickers of back in the 80s? Yeah, sure, that's poggers. Do I like Jerry Curl Vance, JD Vance to JC Vance, and it's Jerry Curls? Yeah, that's chill. It bears a striking resemblance to Papa Meat though, doesn't it? It sorta looks like Papa Meat, right? The ship of Theseus is actually a two-part thought experiment. It's a bit paradoxical. On one hand, you have the idea of the new ship of Theseus, one where every component of the original ship has been replaced. No original pieces remain. Is this new ship still the ship of Theseus? It goes one step further to state, what if you took all of those old, rotting, deteriorated pieces that were removed and instead make a new ship using all of the original pieces of the original ship of Theseus? Would that ship then be the original ship of Theseus? Which one is the true? Taking a look at this original picture of JD Vance, it now feels like something's missing. This doesn't just seem like a picture of the vice president anymore. This seems like a meme without a punchline. Has my thought process and mentality been so poisoned to the fact that I can no longer recognize a dish without its flavor? Or rather, am I just anticipating a meme, an edit, a punchline when there isn't originally supposed to be one? Which is true. The ship of Theseus is paradoxical by nature. Depending on how you look at it, both of the ships are and are not the ship of Theseus in one way or another. The way that you perceive it is really the thing that gives it life. And the way that you're perceived online, whether you like it or not, is a part of the reality of who you are as a personality. Would you rather be the person who had sex with the couch, but nobody finds out? or be the person who didn't have sex with a couch, but everybody thinks that you did. One of them has you committing a terrible act, but the other one has you suffering the ramifications despite the fact that you didn't. And the reality is that your persona online is a reflection of you. If everybody sees you as a minion, or the dude with no neck from 90 Day Fiancé, or whatever other edit, if that's what people think of you in their mind, the reality is that that's kind of what you are to those people. And when those people are everybody on the internet, it kind of feels like JD Vance might be the edits that people are materializing of him, whether he wants to be or not. Remember to subscribe if you enjoyed watching this video so far, and let me know down in the comments if you guys have your own edits of JD Vance that I seem to have missed in this video. A big thank you to the patrons scrolling behind me, and I'll catch you guys on the next one, yeah? Spisu.